the correct answer is both, and let me explain why the answer may be both, of why we are all like Ozzy Osbourne and Kim Kardashian right now when we work on camera. And I'd also like to present the 3 questions we can ask to avoid descending into the pit of madness that might be Ozzy and Kim in the reality lifestyle. And the first way we're all like Ozzy and Kim is we are all living on camera right now, or I am anyway. And Ozzy Osbourne used to be the Prince of Darkness. That's what he was billed as in the 1970s and in the 1980s. But then near the beginning of the 2000s, he allowed a whole TV crew to come in and film his house, and he was the first celebrity camera. And that happened in the early 2000s. So he went from being the Prince of Darkness in the 70s and 80s to doing something even darker. And then later in the 2000 timeframe, the 2000 or the aughts, Kim Kardashian and her crew also became celebrities that went on to do a reality TV show that is still going on to this day. So even though they're living on camera, a lot of what's going on is we're doing reality theater. It's not exactly reality, is it? Because I have an office behind me, but I put up a screen for some privacy. The other thing is when I teach, a lot of corporations want me to have a virtual background. So I will put a green screen like this over my screen so that I can project their brand behind me so that I can be in front of their branded background. A lot of my students that I teach are going through difficult times, and they have also chosen to do virtual backgrounds a lot. And Ozzy and Kim and the reality crew also do something of reality theater, because we all know that it's not exactly reality, even though things are being filmed 100% of the time at their houses, that they also have a lot of scripted content or things that are going on that are just contrived situations. And certainly this is a contrived situation. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of like Ozzy and Kim in that I am living on camera and I'm performing reality theater on a daily basis, which leads me to my concern number 3 is that I've noticed that there is a privacy erosion in my life because I'm on camera almost all of the time now. It means that people can see into my background, which is why I put up a little privacy screen here. And it means that people are asking me things that they never asked before. I don't know about you, but a lot of managers and customers are wanting to do things called daily check-ins. They want to know what my mental health is like. They want to know what my emotional state is like. And I'm telling you, a year ago, nobody was that concerned about my mental state and things like that. So, or asking me what was going on in my home. So I am bringing strangers into my home every day. And yeah, there's a privacy erosion concerned with all of this. So I am concerned because I don't want to become Ozzy Osbourne. I don't want to be the Prince of Darkness. And I certainly don't want to be the other Prince of Darkness, which is the Kardashians. So I would like to stop by asking 3 questions if we could have them open for discussion. And one is, we're knowledge workers. We're working out of our homes. And how can we, not just I, but we, be a thriving knowledge worker that produces meaningful content and products? I don't want to be a schlocky reality show host. I want it to be a meaningful content and have meaningful products. The second question is, how can we blend a professional and personal life with authenticity and integrity? And by that, I mean, you know, the green screen, the contrived situations, people talk a lot about authenticity. This isn't really authentic. It is about as close as we can get right now. What is a way that we can blend this personal and professional personas that we have in a way that is both authentic and has that integrity? And 3, and this one is probably most critical for me, is how do we build this on-camera work environment while avoiding fame and keeping privacy? I know a lot of people right now aspire to be influencers, and believe me, that is the last thing I want. I certainly don't want to be a Kardashian. I want to avoid fame, keep my privacy, keep integrity, and still be a knowledge worker that creates meaningful products. So that's been my experience basically. And I'm wondering if, we could just spend the next 20 minutes or so having a discussion about what you've been experiencing and how working from home and living on camera has impacted your life. And I'll stop sharing at this point and let somebody else talk.
Well, for me, I've been working from home before COVID permanently, and we'd have video conferencing going on for meetings for work. And yeah, you got to pay attention to what's in your background and that sort of thing. I kind of conscious of that. But when people don't share their video, and I kind of feel like they should be, and like they're hiding something, like they didn't shave or they didn't get dressed or whatever it was. So it kind of not irks me a little bit, but something like this, I'm sharing, so should you, type of thing.
Yeah, I felt that in the beginning stages as well. But then I started having a lot of compassion because I saw some of the dire circumstances that many of my students were in. And I know that Zoom fatigue is a real phenomenon, especially when I was on camera for hours and hours and hours a day. If there was any way I could just shut off the camera, I was gonna hop all over that. And even in the evening, prior to the COVID thing happening, the way I'd like to wind down for the evening was turn on the television with my boyfriend and watch Jeopardy and maybe watch a few hours of TV before I go to bed. And afterwards, it was like the last thing I wanted to do was look at another screen after being on TV all day. And I was like, do you want to watch TV and wind down, honey? No, I do not. I want to read a book. I want to close my eyes. I want to have it be silent. So I feel that because when I first was doing this, I'm like, man, I don't want to look at nothing. I want to have people to interact with. But then after a while, I was like, I get it. You need to be off camera for a few minutes, don't you? So I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah, I mean, people, Slack too. It's not that big a deal. It's just I turn my camera off too if they're not sharing. So it's like even that way.
Yeah, I get that. However, as a salesperson, I've noticed that when I am on camera and doing a sales call, because of the intimacy of this, I mean, we're just a few feet away from each other. And it feels like I'm developing relationships with clients a lot more quickly because before they might have me in their office or in a classroom to meet with them. And that's more of a social distance. I might be like 12 feet away from them or 8 feet away from them. And right now I am like, have the illusion that I'm only a few feet away from you, that we're just sitting across the table from each other. And when you start doing that every day, you start developing relationships with clients much more quickly than you ever had before. So it's a theory in body language called proxemics, that it's a social space, personal space, intimate space. And in a lot of ways, we're in an intimate space with people right now. And I'm wondering if that's affecting anyone else either, if they're noticing that.
Yeah, I think it works both ways for me, at least, that a one-on-one on video absolutely feels very close. I think also because like your volume gets moderated, you hear people in the background in other people's houses, it feels very close. But at the same time, something like this, where I know there are a dozen people listening, but I can't hear or see most of them, feels the opposite of intimate. It's worse than being on stage. It's voyeuristic is not quite the right word, but it's I find it very uncomfortable to figure out what tone to set when I can't see or hear people. You know, are they laughing at this joke? Should I pause? Or is everyone silent waiting for me to continue because it wasn't funny? Don't know. So I think the context changes that intimacy really quickly.
Yeah, I get the voyeuristic part. I don't know if you had the pleasure of watching Saturday Night Live Dead when they were recording it instead of doing the live program, and they were doing it through web, that when it came time for Weekend Update, in the rehearsals, they decided they needed to have the rest of the cast laughing. Otherwise, they had no sense of timing whatsoever. And even there's a wonderful radio program and podcast that I love called Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR. It's a game show. They're recording it on Zoom, and it used to be in front of a live audience. And they needed to have that. We need to look at each other. We need to laugh at each other's jokes. We need to do sound effects to just create that experience that we're not speaking into a void. And I think that's how it feels sometimes. You start developing these ninja-like listening skills too, because you want to listen and have this huge amount of patience for the lag time that happens. As a teacher, I have to ask questions. And in class, you might just get an instant raised hand. Now people need to process for about 15 seconds, which at first that seemed like an eternity. And now 15 seconds is like, it's 15 seconds, it's nothing. So it's an adjustment. What other adjustments are you encountering like that?
I definitely have taken some cues from the deaf community in that signaling, like, you know, I like that idea, getting all of the feedback that I would normally do verbally of, oh yeah, is really demonstrably physical, in the hope that if in the corner of their eye they can see my camera, there's some sense of, okay, we're tracking, everything's good. Because it's, like you say, the lag makes it impossible to interrupt at the right moment. You can't smoothly do it.
I've had it where just there'd be silence, and I'm not sure if my internet connection froze up or theirs dead. So I'm asking, did you guys still there? You know, it happens quite often, it seems like. Just because no one's saying anything, it's like they're not picking up on. They need to give me feedback so I know you're listening or there yet or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that I rely very much on emoting and body language, Sam. It's the signaling components. It's like, can you hear me? You just do the whole boop, and reactions in Zoom have been helpful. And I know that they've extended those. It used to just have 2 different reactions, and now there's like 7 different reactions. I found those are really helpful for large classes, and I would ask students to, if you can understand this, give me a thumbs up or a raised hand, using the chats instead of having the vocals come through. But otherwise, especially if we're doing body work exercises, having them do a lot of the signaling and really doing a lot of emoting with the face. Almost, I would say, borderline mugging to the camera. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure if this was television, I would look, you know, crazy because I'm just into the camera sometimes. But you almost do have to over emote for the camera in a class with that lag time. Is that something that you do? You're nodding like, yeah, that's something I've been doing too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, and particularly at work, I tend to have a fairly dry sense of humor, and I find myself like Cheshire grinning at my own joke afterwards to signal, no, that I'm not angry. That was funny, and it feels horrible. It feels like stealing my own punchline, but it's the only way I've found to get like that seems to get the rhythm of the group aligned to, oh, ha ha ha.
Yeah. Two things about that. One was there was a YouTuber called PewDiePie, and he was absolutely huge. And a few of us were doing studies about why is this guy who borderline was not doing it for me, why is he so popular? And a lot of it had to do with the emoting that he did. He was always laughing at himself before he said something funny. So, and it wasn't really even that funny, but he gave everybody like, oh, something funny is going to happen. So you all of a sudden start paying attention to him, and then he'd say something drippy. But that doing the laugh about yourself before you hit something was an actual strategy or a tactic that he deployed to get people to pay attention to him. And then the other is an exercise that I make my own students do, which is to watch their video performances without sound on. And if they're just looking at their face and it's not doing anything and it doesn't look interesting while they're talking and the sound is off, they aren't interesting, because their voice goes monotone, but their entire face goes monotone and nobody wants to look at it. So those are the over emoting. I can't even call it over emoting, because even when I'm doing a lot of masks in person, having that skill set of being a little bit more emotive with my face kind of gives people some expression around here, I think. So there might be something good to come out of that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I work with the Metro Detroit Youth Group. And are you guys getting an echo, or is that just me?
Echo.
Okay, just a second. There, did the echo just disappear? I'm hoping it did. Oh, well, never mind. I'm just
Yeah, you know what? I was talking with you in Zoom and you were absolutely fine. So whatever you were doing in Zoom with your microphone, do that. Talk.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, you still have the echo, but it's livable. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So with the Metro Detroit Youth Group, we've been meeting online using Jitsi. And the nice thing about Jitsi is that we get like that immediate feedback that I'd be able to see from people. If I was talking about something, I'd see a curious look on someone's face, or maybe something. So the thing I'm picking up from this is that, yeah, I should use that to my advantage and do more emoting whenever I give a presentation there. And I'm going to turn off my mic.
Yeah, a bit of an echo there, but it's another thing that I found, and because I teach, on-camera presentation skills, one thing that people are missing is the lower half of our bodies. We don't realize how much we can gain information-wise from the lower half of the body. For example, what are my feet doing right now? We can tell a lot about people in person by, are their feet pointing at me? Because wherever your feet are pointing, that's what you're interested in. And even if feet are below the desk or the table, you still get an idea of what people are interested in. So a lot of what we do about facing the camera and using our expressions and using our body language on camera is really powerful and effective stuff. So.
The other thing that I've started doing some is just saying, hey, can we do a phone call? Because some of the Zoom fatigue is because of managing all these visual cues. And if you just move to a medium where we're already familiar with, oh, I have to be careful because I'm not getting any visual feedback. It's almost a relief to say, okay, yeah, I'm getting less bandwidth, but we're all aware of that. And I have no worries that there's going to be an echo or something. The phone works.
Right.
It's
Right.
old enough that it's solid.
Yeah. I feel the same. There was one company that I worked with that made Fridays a Zoom-free day, meaning that all communication was either email or phones. And I thought that is so brilliant on so many different levels. Yeah, we'll do a lot more phone meetings now than we ever have before, but giving people the opportunity to say, yay, I'm just going to wear a crummy t-shirt today or not do my hair. It's extremely satisfying to say, phew, Friday is my day to like work on the couch in a crummy t-shirt and have gross hair. Awesome. That's very, very freeing. And I think more companies need to adopt the, hey, this can be a phone call. This does not need to be on video. So I think that is, yeah, go ahead.
So I find that for phone calls, it's better than like talking through text. Like it's just a lot more easier to get a quick response and then to have something for 5 minutes rather than to sit there trying to write to each other for like 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So are you doing more phone calls?
Yeah, I try to do a little bit more phone calls.
Yeah. I've noticed that that's been something that a lot of people in my feed have been talking about over the past, I don't know, 2 months now. It's like, oh, just pick up the phone. just pick up the phone. Or another strategy that I like is make an appointment for a phone call. Do you do that as well?
Every once in a while I do, but I just prefer like when I'm talking to the developers and stuff like that, just like, hey, let's do a quick phone call. So that way you can just explain it to me. Because sometimes reading it, things can get lost. Whereas I feel like if you listen to the instructions or something like that, then it's like just a little bit easier. At
Yeah.
least for me. Depends on how other people take instructions or like conversations and stuff like that.
I had a technical issue to describe to a designer, and my way of dealing with it was because she's a visual learner. So I just cut a really quick screencast video of what was happening, what was on screen. And I started thinking of it as me leaving those screencast videos for her and just leaving it as an unlisted video on YouTube and just giving her the link to it is like a visual voicemail. So it's not me on camera, but this is what I'm experiencing. This is what needs to happen. And now we can have this discussion on the phone because now you know what I'm seeing and I know what you're seeing, and we can have that common basis. So is anybody else using a lot of the screencast software right now? Because it used to be I could just, look over her shoulder and have this conversation that we just can't have anymore.
I'm committing to a lot of pairing sessions and everything. So we'll hop in a Zoom call, and my team is entirely remote anyway. Like we're disparate enough. I don't think any of us, no, 2 people are in the same state, and that's Texas, but otherwise it's East Coast, West Coast, everybody everywhere. So like we coordinate over Zoom anyway. So we'll jump in a Zoom and one of us will share a screen and we'll do a pairing session that way. And it works. It's not quite like dropping a visual voicemail, but it's very interesting and kind of fun to jump in and like both work on the same thing, even though like we're on different coasts or something. And sorry, my camera isn't on. For some reason, when I dropped off my dock this morning, my onboard camera decided that it was going to, take the day off.
So no, explain that a little bit more to me. So you're doing the screen share. Are you doing that in Zoom and just doing it back and forth? Okay, that's cool. I've had to do that with presentations and design with people, but I never thought of doing it for a pair coding. Do you do that too, Sam?
Yeah, there are a bunch of pretty good tools for that. Screen is really nice because you can also, like your mouse works on their machine, which is nice for pointing at things. A thing I struggle with on a Zoom pairing is like you have to figure out the line number. And so halfway through line 35, you see that, where in person you would just point. And so having a little more sophistication in the tools can make a big difference. A problem I haven't figured out how to solve with pairing is it's real easy in person to recognize when the other person just needs a minute to think. And when I'm pairing remotely, there's sort of just this constant check-in, keep going. Do you agree that doesn't flow as well?
Yeah, yeah. That's why, I kind of called it the ninja listening skills, and just having that ninja level of patience, because there is time that we need for reflection that you might be 20 seconds mentally ahead of where the other person is. So it's not just the lag time with speaking, it is the lag time with thinking that has to happen as well. Well, I see that I've used up my time. We're at 1:30. I want to thank you for sharing some of your insights with me, because we all have different experiences of being on camera. And I just thought it was going to be a helpful thing to talk about, because I don't want to descend into madness, and I still want to keep my privacy, and I don't want to be a reality star. I want to have that, be a knowledge worker that has integrity. And I thought if anybody could relate to that, the people of Barcamp certainly could. So thank you for your input on my